I didn't want to be in the front lines. I didn't want to make any headlines. I hated it. I grew up hating it. I grew up avoiding it and hating the press. So I hated any attention on me too. I'm not narcissistic in any way. I'm totally the opposite. I met Michael Jackson when I was a little girl in Las Vegas. I would think I was about 6. My dad was performing at the Hilton, and the Jackson 5 were playing down the road. Michael remembered that I went backstage and met them. I don't remember it at all. When I was a teenager, probably 15 or 16, Michael called my mom for her to go meet him for dinner. When I saw the messages that he'd called, I said, "Mom, what the fuck are you doing? Why is Michael Jackson calling you?" I found out later that he was hoping that I'd come with her. He didn't say so directly because he didn't want it to seem weird. Then a couple of years after that, when I was working for Jerry Schilling and helping manage Jerry Lee Lewis, Michael tried to contact me via a business guy, John Branca, who worked for the Elvis estate, but who had also helped Michael acquire the Beatles catalog. But at the time, I was about to marry Danny, so nothing came of it. Michael told me later that when I was on the cover of People magazine, after Danny and I got married, he was devastated. He thought that he should be with me instead. I had no idea all this was going on. The first time meeting Michael that I actually remember was in 1993, right after he did his famous Super Bowl halftime performance and his interview with Oprah. We met through a mutual friend. I had a demo tape out. He said he'd heard it and wanted to meet me. I didn't want to go at first. I didn't want to become someone else's project. Prince had tried it too, and though I respected what they were doing, I wanted to do my own thing. But I went anyway. When Michael arrived, I was shocked that he alone, and further shocked that he was really subdued and extremely nice. Danny was with me and made everybody leave the room so that Michael and I could talk. We just clicked. Phone numbers were exchanged and he'd call me. I was living in Clearwater at the time, really working hard at Scientology, making progress. Back then, I wouldn't even take Advil, which is crazy. But Michael would call. We had worked out a signal. If it rang 3 times and then stopped, it was Michael. And you had to clear the fuck out of the way for me to get on the phone with him. We'd be on the phone for long periods of time. I just thought that he was lonely and needed a friend, but he was pursuing me. Eventually, he invited me to go to Atlanta to see him. There, I hung out only with Michael. We went to amusement parks. I don't know why Danny let me do it. Don't know why he trusted me. Mistake. This went on for a few months, and then the molestation accusations hit. Michael disappeared, went into hiding, nobody could find him. I put the word out that I was there for him if he wanted to talk to me. He called me pretty much every other day. I was one of only a handful of people who he talked to or who knew where he was. He went to Switzerland for rehab for prescription painkillers, and then ended up back in Los Angeles. That's when the Northridge earthquake happened, and I heard that Michael ran out of his house in his pajamas, jumped into his Jeep, drove to the airport, and took a Gulfstream to Las Vegas because he was terrified of earthquakes. I thought that was so funny. He called me from Vegas and invited me to join him again. I went to the Mirage where he was staying. I took the kids and my sister-in-law again. Michael and I had different rooms, but each night I'd go to his room and we'd stay up all night talking like you do when you're first meeting somebody, watching movies like Jaws, drinking, and talking about our childhood, our lives, how we felt. Michael had an energy and a presence, and that week, he was fully allowing me into his world, into his mind. I knew he didn't do that very much. I don't think he ever did, actually, until we started talking. He knew that I understood him and we really connected because I didn't judge him. I completely got who he was and why he thought the shit that he thought. We had come from and were now in similar circumstances. Everything about our lives was so incredibly abnormal. There was no reason why we shouldn't connect. And as for that meeting as children, he remembered every detail, where I'd sat, what I'd said. He said, "You remember the white dress?" I said, "How do you remember the white dress I wore?" "My God, you remember." I don't remember any of this. All I remember was being afraid to tell my dad I wanted to go see somebody else's show. I was only supposed to go to Vegas for 2 days, but I ended up staying for 8. Nothing happened physically, but the connection was so insanely strong. No one had ever seen that side of him. He wasn't that high-pitched, calculated thing. That was an act. At one point during the week I was there, Danny flew to Las Vegas and was trying to find us in the Mirage, banging on doors. I told Danny that I was just helping Michael, being his friend, and that he should leave us alone and go home. And that's what he did. The final night, Michael again invited me to his room. When I arrived, he said, "Don't look at me. I'm really nervous. I want to tell you something." And then he turned out the lights. And in the darkness, Michael said, "I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm completely gone in love with you. I want us to get married and for you to have my children." Then he played me a song about how he felt, and when he finished, he said, "You don't have to say anything. I know I've thrown you off, but I really want you. I want to be with you." I didn't say anything immediately, but eventually I said, "I'm really so flattered. I can't even talk." By then, I felt I was in love with him too. I had told him that my marriage was in serious trouble. I was holding it all in, so when I got back to my room in the Mirage, I totally lost it. I remember walking into the closet, leaning up against the wall, and just dropping, staring. I was so infatuated, so shaken. Oh my fucking God, I thought. What just happened? I hadn't wanted to tell him that I felt the same way because I had my 2 kids with me. And first, I had to go home and tell my husband. But I was fully in love too. The next morning, Michael and I flew back to Los Angeles together on a private jet. When we landed, Michael said, "I'll miss you." And then he said he was leaving it to me, whatever I decided to do, and that he would call me. When I got home, Danny was in bed asleep. I was all made up. Every time I saw Michael, I had my hair done, wore an outfit, had my nails done. Everything was perfect. So there I was, all decked out, even though I hadn't slept all night. Danny said, "Come and get in bed with me." "Actually, I can't do that," I said, and left the room. Danny came to find me. "Let's talk," he said. "What happened?" "Well," I said, "Michael asked me to leave you and marry him and have children with him." "What did you say?" I said nothing. "That's it then," Danny said. "That's it. Forget it." And then Danny packed his bags, got the dog, and drove out the damn gate. Gone. Within a day, Michael was calling. Was I leaving Danny or not? When Michael found out what had happened, he got really excited and sent giant baskets of flowers. I started visiting him in LA. I was always in such a state, so nervous. I remember sweating a lot. He told me he was still a virgin. I think he'd kissed Tatum O'Neal and he'd had a thing with Brooke Shields, which hadn't been physical apart from a kiss. He said Madonna had tried to hook up with him once too, but nothing happened. I was terrified because I didn't want to make the wrong move. When he decided to first kiss me, he just did it. He was instigating everything. The physical stuff started happening, which I was shocked at. I had thought that maybe we wouldn't do anything until we got married, but he said, "I'm not waiting." When we walked into the lawyer's office together, Danny said, "I don't want anything." There had been no prenup, but I said he had to take something, so I forced him to take a little bit of money. Danny was amazing like that. He never did anything to betray me. He's always been there for me. He literally filed divorce papers so that I could go marry Michael. We were best friends. We shared every single family vacation together. Riley and Ben never saw anything bad between us. We made it really great for them. I was actually so happy. I've never been that happy me again. We got married in the Dominican Republic on the down low. There were 2 witnesses, and then it was just the 2 of us alone. We'd run from rented house to rented house. We'd get into so much trouble. Sometimes he'd call for his main security guy to come hang out with us, but we would end up ditching him to the point where we'd wander into dangerous areas that we shouldn't have been in. But we just wanted to be alone, to be normal, anonymous. I'd do laundry, and we'd do errands together and shop. For our honeymoon, we rented a quaint little house in the gay neighborhood of Orlando. and we'd walk around and look at real estate and go to Disney World every other day. He wasn't doing any drugs at that point. We were up all night talking sober. Michael was an amazing conversationalist. He was someone who never wanted to talk about himself, hated it, in fact, so he would always divert. He was super interested in people, and he would really lift them up. He would do anything he could to turn a conversation back to you and what you were doing. He'd be deeply fascinated by everything you had to say about what you did. There was an energy there, something about him that was truly remarkable, something that I've never ever seen or felt in my entire life, other than with my dad. I feel really, really lucky that he let me in. I fell in love with him because he was normal. Just fucking normal. His normal was a side that no one saw. His mom would say, "He told you that stuff?" And Janet would say, "I have never heard him talk about anything like that." I wish that he would show that side more. He didn't really talk to his brothers much at that point, and I think they were surprised that our relationship was legit, but they thought it was really cool. No one had ever seen him with his guard down. I knew that it was rare. With everyone else, he would snap his fingers if somebody brought up anything he didn't like snap, and you're out because he could create his own world. And in that world, everyone had to agree with what he said. But in our world, I would say what I felt, and he loved that about me because it wasn't aimed at him. I could be real without hiding anything. He knew I was a lioness with my children, with anybody I loved. He'd have me deal with people, be the bad cop. He respected how and what I felt, and he usually agreed with me regarding people around him and the shit that was going on. Well, he loved that part of me until we started fighting, and I aimed my honesty at him, which was at the end. When Michael had called me after the allegations, what he told me at the time was that Evan Chandler, the father of one of the accusers, was hurting him. And I think I told Michael to settle it. Everyone advised that he settled because it was going to be a fucking nightmare. As for child molestation, I never saw a goddamn thing like that. I personally would have killed him if I had. I didn't want to be on the front lines, didn't want to make any headlines. I grew up avoiding it and hating the press. I did the interview with Diane Sawyer in 1995 to protect him. I thought he needed me, and I loved that. It was really nice for me to be able to play the female role for once where I could take care of my husband. After that interview, I got sued by Chandler because Michael had signed a confidentiality agreement with him and had been coached to not approach the subject, but I'd never signed anything. So, I would go right in and say that the allegations were not true, and that's how I got the lawsuit. It went all the way down to the deposition stage, but I won. In 1995, Michael released History. I was in the studio with him all the time while he was making it. When it came time to do the pre-press, it was clear the pressure was on him. I started noticing differences in him. Michael started going to the doctor's office a lot. I'd pick him up and he would be really out of it. I think it was Demerol shots. He said he needed it because of his scalp injury. But I knew there was a longer story to it, that it was big. One of his family members told me that it was a pill habit. He was about to do a giant HBO thing, and I think he didn't want to do it. So he feigned to fall and went to the hospital. I kept asking what was wrong him, and I got a different answer every day. Karen, his makeup artist, told me that he totally planned it because he didn't want to do the HBO thing. I flew to New York where he was in the hospital and was with him every day. His mom was there too, along with his team, including his own anesthesiologist. Nobody has their own anesthesiologist. Every hospital has their own. It was a big red flag. At first, I couldn't get a read on what the fuck was going on, but I started to cotton onto it. He needed somebody around who could legally administer the drugs. I told one of the security team that I wanted to go into his bathroom to see what he was taking. A family member asked me to try to get his urine to test it, but I didn't. Michael was being really awful. He got mad at me for asking questions. I said, "What's really happening here? If you have a problem, I'll go with you to rehab." The doctors started coming after me, threatening me, telling me to stop asking so many questions. I said, "I'm just trying to find out what's going on with my husband." The doctor and Michael had a meeting, and when the doctor came out of his room, he said, "He wants to talk to you." In the room, Michael said, "You're causing too many problems here. They're going to take you to the airport. "You need to go home until I'm done. I'll see you when I get back." So I left. I wanted him to come too, but he didn't. I filed for divorce very shortly thereafter. We went back and forth for years. He had wanted me to have his children so badly, and I didn't want to. I knew he ultimately wanted to be the only caretaker of the children. Michael wanted to control things. He didn't want a mother influence or any other influence, in fact. I figured that Michael would have me have the children and then dump me, get me out of the picture. I could read him like a clock. I understood everything, and I knew everything about him because all we did was bare our souls to one another. I knew his nature, and he was very controlling and calculating. One time he was working, and he called me. During the conversation, I said, "You're like a snake. I don't know what you're going to crawl out from under." Michael said, "Oh, that's great. I call home and talk to my wife, and she tells me I'm a snake." "Well," I said, "yeah, you are."